cleaning the cobwebs with the womb broom?
Yeah, we've all been there.
Hey, honey.
It's been a long time since we've had sex. You mind if I clean the cobwebs with my womb broom?
Welcome to Behind the Sins, presented by CinemaSins.
Welcome to Behind the Sins, a weekly look at everything going on inside the world of CinemaSins. I'm Aaron Dicer, and I'm joined, as always, by Jonathan Watkins.
Hello, hello.
And Danae Hughes.
Yay, Jonathan's back. We
write for CinemaSins and TV Sins and do various other things inside the CinemaSins universe as well. Severely missed, Mr. Jonathan.
Oh, well, thank you very much. You guys did awesome. That was a really fun episode to listen to.
Are you and Danae going to return the favor when I'm missing next week?
No.
What, making a puppet?
Sticking it up your butt?
Yeah, I listened back to that and I thought, what? Why? What's going on in my head?
I was listening to it in the moment and thinking, why? What's going on in her head?
When I talk about all the experiences I've had at my job at CinemaSins, being in Danae's butt.
I thought it was
may
my
or may
butt.
Not be one of the ones I discuss.
Really anyone's butt.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
It's just not expected. That's our next bumper sticker. Speaking of stickers, for those of you on the newsletter, you're going to want to check your email.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Lots of fun stuff going on in Behind the Sins land. So thank you so much for being an incredible, amazing part of it. We love you. We love doing this show every week. And so I think we should just get into it. Get into the meaty stuff. You ready?
Let's do it.
Let's kick it off with the SinSide Scoop.
What's he building in there?
I've got a secret.
Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
This is a true story.
We're going to take a look at the videos from the week, the process of sinning them, how we felt about the stuff we are sinning in general. Kick it off with TV Sins, The Walking Dead. We did another Walking Dead episode beside The Dying Fire. This is a Dicer Watkins script because Danae will never write on The Walking Dead.
This was the second season finale,
Yes,
right?
yes, it was.
Yeah.
I really do wonder what would happen if I was assigned something.
When you're ready, you just let me know. I will assign you.
Is it because you also don't like to watch weird stuff?
No. I'd be very curious to see how you handle. I think you would get 5 minutes in and be like, "I've made a terrible mistake." Aaron, take over.
Right. Hey, on top of everything you're doing this week.
I've been okay with everything. There has been one show that I know Aaron was like, if we do another one of these, we might need to get somebody else.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I did have that one experience. Is it okay to say?
We might have even already talked about it when we discussed that episode.
It's quite possible. I've put it out of my brain. What was it?
It was American Horror Story.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to do American Horror Story anymore.
Yeah, he has a really horrible look on his face right now. like he ate something rancid.
Well, that is not what I would call a very pleasant show, so I get it.
Yeah, and it's one of those things too where it's not just look, I've seen enough horror content in my life that I'm not shocked or grossed out necessarily by anything. It's more along the lines of I just keep saying the same things because it keeps striking me the same way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't have anything new to add to this conversation. This is stupid. You know what I mean?
How many Ryan Murphy jokes can one person make?
Yeah. But that's just me. Somebody else may be able to have
watching this Walking Dead, though, doing these Walking Dead episodes makes me wonder why I wasted 6 years of my life watching this show.
Is it that bad?
Well,
it's not that bad, but it definitely doesn't hold up well.
No, it doesn't. I think
in what way? Plotline wise? You okay there, Aaron?
Shush. Well, nobody knows. Nobody knows about my flaming lips.
I don't know. What is it for you, Aaron, that doesn't hold up, I guess?
Well, for me, it's mostly I was really engaged in the character work in that show, and that stuff is still fine. But once you get beyond that, really see the seams of just how it goes nowhere. It does nothing. It's all the same.
I think that's it, because I think when you're watching it the first time, I mean, it's a very involved show.
I mean, how many times do you need to see a zombie take head trauma before you go, this is all this show is?
Yeah.
But I mean, you're watching it initially to see where it goes because it is a very involved show. It's a continuing storyline.
Yeah.
And
but then surprise.
It's an interesting scenario, and it's based on a very popular comic book series, which I've also read.
Yeah,
which is way better, by the way.
But
I think that's it. I think you just want to know where it's going to go, and then once you realize it's not really going to go anywhere, and it's just going to meander like it kind of does for the entire second season on a farm. When you go back and watch it, it's kind of like, why? Well, I wish I had just known this from the get-go. I wouldn't have bothered.
Yeah. You know when you have an arm that falls asleep for a long time, and then the sharp needle pain when it wakes up? That's the stage of my lips have entered into now.
Aaron,
I thought you were about to make another Walking Dead reference.
No, me too. But no, that's what I was talking about when it goes into hyper light speed and it's just tingly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Isn't it crazy?
Yeah. My lips are in a Kubrick movie right now. They are.
I will explain more in the outtakes, but it's very distracting.
The Walking Dead lips.
I need to say right now, I warned you that it was going to be distracting when we started the show.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So can you
I'm sorry. You have no context for this whatsoever.
Can you say, Danae, you're right?
Danae, you are right.
That makes me so happy.
So, Danae, I am curious as to your thoughts on this whole Walking Dead thing. I know you didn't watch any of the videos this week.
Man, my show prep was so quick. I usually there was a question on Twitter like about the length of time it was in Discord rather, about the prep work that goes into the show and how long it takes for us to edit it and just the whole process and everything.
Yeah, it
takes me an hour and a half to 2 hours to prep for the show. Not this week. My husband was so excited. He's like, "You're done already?" Like, I'm like, "Yeah, I can be back with the family," because I always try to do it on Sunday in case we have changes in the schedule and just things like that. It's easier to do. So I really enjoyed it. My experience with Walking Dead though is all just secondhand, seeing commercials for it on television and then having friends that are really into zombies and stuff that they started watching it. And then like things would come out in the meme world about, or even just like pop culture when a main character dies or something, that I've seen those kind of blips happen as the years have sort of gone on with this show.
Right.
But it bums me out to hear that the plot is just like, there's just nothing really there, because then I do not relate to watching zombie, I'm gonna say zombie trash, but here's why I'm gonna say it. Because I watch ER medical drama trash. So some people look at what I watch, they're like, that is so dumb. And so like mine is like Grey's Anatomy or whatever. I wish I could stop watching Grey's Anatomy, but I think the difference is that they do have plot stuff going on, but they do the annoying like drama plot where it's like suddenly these people aren't together anymore, they break up, and then one of them's pregnant and they got to get back together. It's that trash.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, zombies are just like anything else. I mean, you can do really interesting things with the subject matter. I mean, we have stuff like Shaun of the Dead, and we have 28 Days Later, and we have Anna and the Apocalypse, which I talked about a couple weeks ago.
So what's the point of the show? Is it to survive? Is it to find a cure?
It's just it's just zombies. I mean, there's it's an apocalyptic type scenario where the world has been overtaken by zombies, and the humans are trying to figure out a way to survive. I mean, the whole thing, which we joked about this when we sent the pilot, is that The Walking Dead does not refer to the zombies; it refers to the humans. And they beat that over your head. By the way.
Oh, well, it's new to me, and it was really impressive.
Yeah.
So
with a baseball bat.
But what's interesting too, talking about the comic book, because I have read the comic book series since I watched the show, and because it just ended last year, I guess it was last year. The show follows a lot of the same beats that the comic follows, so it's really weird that it works really well in comic, but doesn't work in the show.
Yeah.
But so all the humans like are trying to find a civilization that's away from the zombies where they can pick them off if they come and attack.
Yeah. No, they're just trying to survive.
They're trying to survive. They're trying to figure out what's going on. They're trying for a while, and then at some point they're just trying to make do. And then eventually they meet, our main characters. They meet other humans, and some of them are worse than the zombies,
right?
Because you can only imagine what people are doing in these types of scenarios to survive and to take advantage. And,
right.
Because things like food is gone, and or food supplies have been cut off.
Okay.
Electricity and
a final question for the person who doesn't watch the show, who's just asking asking a whole bunch of questions. Do they know what caused the zombie?
No, and that's why I got
and
bored
that's
with
fine.
it. No, that's for me. That is the primary reason I got bored with it. I got bored because I am a hopeful, optimistic person, and this show has none of that. This show is not at all about any kind of let's actually solve this problem, let's find the cause of it, and like after the first season, it's all just about finding a place to bunker down and survive. And
you do find out, and then like character arcs and things like that. You do find out in this episode actually that they all have it.
Right.
Like you don't have to be like if you just die, you become a zombie. So whatever it is inside everybody.
Right.
Whatever the issue is.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, but like Aaron said, it never goes beyond that.
Well, and I guess I know we've talked about this before, but I shouldn't care because honestly, when you really think about zombies, and we address this in the video again this time too, when you really think about it, zombies make no sense. Like there's no reason zombies would actually be a problem. We would figure it out so quickly. They barely move. They're, like we would take care of that issue, and then we would have stuff in place for when people die. Like it wouldn't be an apocalypse if an outbreak happened.
And that's what everything is like when an optimist is at the helm.
I think it would depend on how it was handled. I mean, I don't necessarily agree that. I guess they would be fairly easy to get away from, but I mean, at the same time, if you didn't know they existed or you didn't know what was going on, I mean, if somebody just wandered up to you, you wouldn't be thinking, "Oh, this person's about to eat."
No, true, but within a week, communication would have, okay, this is what's going on. Here's how we handle it. We dig pits that have noisemakers, that are charged and continuous noisemakers.
Are they afraid of noise?
They walk towards noise.
Oh, I see.
Zombies are really scary. They walk slowly towards noises. I mean, I don't know.
So by that rationale, are you saying like every apocalyptic movie is BS? Like we won't be able to handle anything?
No, disease is really scary. Like apocalypse.
Yeah.
The idea
Isn't this just a disease?
but the disease does nothing except it lives in you until you die, and then you turn into a slow walking noise finder.
What's the one that affects people but mostly animals, but can affect people too? That
Like
does
bird
that?
flu? And
foam at the mouth.
Rabies?
Rabies does that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Rabies turns you into it's a horrible way to die.
Yeah.
Like horrible.
For sure. But you're not like the living dead.
You're kinda. I mean, because it takes over your brain, and then all you want to do is like bite somebody.
Yeah.
That's true. But I'm just saying zombies are people that actually have died and then come back to life.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I just assumed that like something bit them while they were living.
Well, and let's move.
And then they die, and then they come back as a zombie.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So here's the other thing. We can move into the video because I think this is the first Walking Dead. We didn't talk about this in the first one, but the idea of clothing on zombies is really fascinating to me because none of them would have pants. Like
Pants specifically.
Well, pants specifically because they would, first of all, lose so much weight. Like, just pieces would fall off of them, and then their pants would just fall off. Nobody would be wearing pants, let alone robes and suspenders and all these things that these zombies have on.
Yeah, but the wardrobe department.
Right, yeah, exactly. So
it's really interesting, though, too, because one of the weird things about this show that I found out like a while back was that I don't know if it's Nicotero specifically, but the FX crew, somebody actually studied like how decaying works and like looked at like the timetable of like how decayed you be at this point. So like throughout the run of the show, they have made it a point, and this seems so silly in retrospect, but it's interesting. They've made it a point to make the decaying of the bodies equal the time that this has been going on.
Right.
So like you get like, that's why like if you watch the series, you'll notice some zombies get a little more, I guess, grosser.
Right. Well,
as the series goes. But obviously they didn't take into account the clothing, which granted, I get from a network standpoint, you can't just have like junk hanging out.
Right.
Or maybe the junk would fall off, we don't know.
That's true.
Maybe.
That's true.
But then Aaron even, we went into also like, but that was always interesting me, like how do they eat?
They don't eat, do they?
Well, yeah, that's the whole thing is they feast on the living. Like that's their primary directive somehow is to eat people.
Man.
That
sounds terrible.
But the other thing about the decay though is when your muscles decay, how do you move? Like I don't understand how they're still walking. Like at some point the body, like at some point you have to say there's magic involved because the there is no literal physical way that these zombies could continue to walk if their muscles are decaying and their bones are breaking down. Like, that makes no sense.
Which is really interesting that you say that because, of course, like, you know, the zombie storyline is obviously over the years of filmmaking has changed. And early on, with the first stories of zombies, like back like in the 20s and 30s, were voodoo.
Yeah. Well, and that makes more sense.
They were created by magic.
Yeah, if you throw magic into the mix, we can do all of this. That's fine. But
then Romero kind of changed the landscape with Night of the Dead in the 60s.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That created what became the modern day zombie story. But before that, that's exactly what it was. It was witchcraft and voodoo.
That makes more sense to me.
Yeah.
You know what else makes sense to me?
And it's scarier.
You know what else makes sense to me? A bonus round of shotgun shooting.
Yeah,
That's what makes sense to me.
That was fun. I love that part of the video.
You should watch just the bonus round.
I thought about it after you told me.
Yeah. I love what the way instead of the Mario coin sound, it's just all the different video game calls for after you shoot somebody. You know, like Killpocalypse.
I don't play video games, so like I didn't really know what that stuff was from, but I found it very funny.
Oh, it's so funny. It's hilarious. It was one of my favorite parts of the video. What about you, Jonathan? What are some of your things?
I thought it was interesting when I was watching. I hadn't thought about this through all the scripting and stuff. The sin about the no trespass sign.
Yeah.
Where we were breaking down all the specifics about the sign itself.
Yep.
For some reason today when I was, or not today, or the other day when I was rewatching it for prep, I was thinking, this is very similar to like the review of a Sin script. Like, did we subconsciously... Because we're talking about like where would the apostrophe go?
Yes. No, there's nothing subconscious about that.
What is the tone of this? Like, what is the tense?
There's nothing subconscious about that. We live that on a day-by-day basis. So,
and obviously, we cheated quite a bit with the whole like future knowledge on this one, but it was so worth it because the stuff about prison was the first thing.
Yeah.
But we had 3 or 4 things in there about Glenn.
Oh my goodness!
Just metaphorical, I guess, is that the way to put it?
Just puns, just winking puns about bats.
And that was a big hit.
Man, yeah, I'll get more into that in the comment section.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, that was a lot of fun. I want to go back to the sign because when I had written this list of things with a sign, I had included the fact that it looked like it was on the wrong side of the fence.
Yeah.
Like who
would see that?
It looks like, who would see that? But here's the thing. I actually rewound and you can tell from the long shot that fence is facing the road. And so the property is actually on the other side of that fence. They're already on somebody's property and they are like coming towards the road.
Oh, so we were just assuming that was Herschel's property.
Right. And it's not.
Probably somebody else's. Gotcha.
It's just a continuation of the stupid, hey, zombies saw a helicopter and they're moving and now they're walking across a field and they'll eventually get to Herschel's farm. Does it matter? Nope. I don't know. It's just one of those things. But yeah, in the comments, somebody had mentioned, you forgot to mention the sign's even on the wrong side. And I was like, actually, that was in the original Sin. And then the long shot shows that that's not actually the case. So.
Oops.
And I loved how we just opened it up with just simply this show is gross, which actually at first I thought we might need to cut because it really didn't feel like much of a sin, but it's so fitting the way it opens.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that.
It worked perfectly. And then obviously us going back to Coral, which we referenced in our original script.
I love it
for the pilot.
I love it that we just make it just his name now. And it's just subtle. It's not even, it's just, we just call him Coral.
Yeah.
That's his name.
He's Coral. Coral.
All right, let's move on to The Office Product Recall.
Boo!
And but this is one you could watch at least, Danae.
Boo! Oh, right. I did actually watch it.
This is another Dicer Watkins script Jonathan and I wrote on this one.
Listen. You're going to think after like last week and this week, I just don't write on anything anymore. But sometimes things get moved around.
Things are definitely getting moved around.
We wrote this a while back.
Yeah. So just calm down. Calm down, Danae.
Yeah,
fine.
We made the decision to swap some stuff around, and there was actually a previously on this. Was it this video? Or no, it was The Walking Dead. I think there was a previously on that kind of was like, hey, you guys haven't done this yet.
Yeah.
So we actually had to take that out. But
yeah.
We're
learning how to. The previously on is fun because it's like a TV show.
Yeah.
But sometimes if you do that,
and we love letting our members record those, which is really fun too.
Plus, if you are a member on Patreon, we will release them and sometimes learn as it's being released that we have to switch some things up. So if you're a member, you actually get to sometimes see videos that aren't.
We've edited videos based on member feedback sometimes, which is great. I love doing that. That's awesome.
So you guys kind of, in fact, we'll get notes like, hey, the previously on is showing one you guys haven't done yet. And we're like, oh, yep, we're working on it. But we have this additional checks and balances thing, which is super nice. So
previously on was a wonderful idea until we had to start switching videos around.
Yes. And now we're just going to have to, I guess, cut it out sometimes.
Yeah.
So sometimes it won't be there, I guess, which is okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
I might not agree. I might just not agree with the masses, but going back to The Office, I wish we would do a funny episode.
Right? But
clearly I just don't agree with like the fan favorites apparently, because I know this was a voted one. This is clearly a fan favorite. And I guess there are things in it that I like, but
yeah,
well, I don't know.
What was it about this one that made it a fan favorite? Like, do you think?
I think the apology. I think a lot of it has to do with the Michael Scott videoed apology about, the piece of paper having the profane watermark on it. And, there's just a lot of Michael Scott being Michael Scott in this one.
That was probably my favorite part of the show, though. I did like how at the beginning, especially, it's really interesting because like it's always fun to watch that character try to solve a problem, like a real problem, like not even this, because a lot of the times he creates problems that aren't there.
Yeah.
But in this situation, this was actually something where, he had to come in there and try to fix it. And that's I can see the humor in that. I guess I can see why people find that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff with like how they handle it, with how different people, like I think of the is it Creed part of it where he shifts the blame on somebody else at a different plant or whatever, and the way that he does that
was kind of fascinating.
And so so there's
because that happened,
right, and then there's the Jim in Nard Dog trip to the to the high school, and he sees that the girl he's been dating is actually in high school.
What the hell was that?
So
see that I didn't. I mean, that could be funny, but I didn't.
That isn't funny.
Handled it well. And granted, was she in episodes before that?
I don't know.
It had to have been, right?
That's what I couldn't remember.
I don't remember. My wife is the Office expert. We should have her on. She every day, if she's got time, she's firing up an episode of The Office on her phone and watching them.
We've talked about this before. Our spouses are the Office people. When I was watching this one, as soon as he heard the music, he came running over. And I was like, oh, so you want to watch some of the work then, do ya? You want to actually support the channel and actually watch one, huh? I just kind of razzed him. He watched this with me, which is fun. We actually have not watched a completed Sins video together like this before. He's kind of fast forwarded through some of them. When I'm like really particularly excited about like a sin or something that I wrote and I want him to see it, the way that I wrote it. It happened actually several times in Alita Battle Angel, because there were several in there that I was really proud of. So I skipped through and like showed him, because he doesn't want to watch the whole thing. But then on the Office ones, he wants to watch the whole thing until he watched it and he got personally offended because he loves the Office so much. There was one burn in particular. He goes, oh, that's low.
Was it on this one? Do you remember what it was?
Yeah, I do.
What was it?
It gets a laugh like a quarter of the time, and then you mean like this show after season 5? He literally gasped and he goes, oh, that was low.
True.
That was a burn. And I paused the video because I didn't understand the reference. And then he explained to me that most people just think it gets, less funny. And so, but he, of course, is a diehard, Office fan.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Jonathan and I wrote on it. So tell us what else. And this is, one of only maybe 2 videos that you watched this week. So
yeah. I was
tell us about what you found in it.
Well, it's fun to try to piece together the plot as you watch a Sins video, because I have no idea what's happening in this.
Sure.
And so when you first see the image of the duck and the mouse, I have 0 point of reference that this has been printed for a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
So later on, it's kind of mentioned, and then I had to ask Justin about it, and he said,
Right.
yeah, that's been sent out to everyone. And then like it kind of made more sense like about what was happening and why people were stressed out and things like that. So
one of my favorite parts of the editing process was when we thought that the blurring that they do on that area,
the black bar.
the black bar, it wasn't blurring, it was a black bar. And during the editing, we were like, hey, do we need to blur? Like, do we need to do a black bar there? Don't we usually do blurring?
Yeah, that was me.
And it was like, well, actually, they did that. That wasn't us.
Yeah, I wrote that down, and it had just, like I said, it had been a while since we had written it and watched the episode, so
Yeah.
it was confusing.
Same. I saw the black bar and I thought, are we doing something different? And then I realized it was part of the show.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was fun. But this video starts off where Jim is dressed as Dwight.
Yes.
And
Bears.
I've
Beats.
seen this memed before,
Battlestar Galactica.
but I've never seen it play out before. And so that was sort of fun for me just to
Look,
just
Jim's
briefly
mean.
see it.
Can we just say it? Jim is a meanie.
No, because like I'm not a huge Dwight fan, to be honest. Like I don't
Sure.
particularly think that character's funny, but yeah, no, Jim is horrible to him.
We got some pushback on that because everybody loves Jim's pranks.
Yeah.
Including my wife. That's her one thing. Like if she's watching in like something, she will show me all the pranks. She's like, watch this one. It's my favorite prank. So people love Jim's pranks. But if you really had that person at your office and you really made fun of them like this, you're a meanie. You are a meanie.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say.
I know that there's other pranks. I can think of a few that I've seen because those particular episodes play a lot, and I've seen them before, and I've seen my husband watch it because he watches this show all the time. It's his Friends or whatever, which is weird to say because we don't watch Friends. But there's the one where stuff is in Jell-O, maybe.
Yeah, the stapler and Jell-O. That's like episode 1.
And then there's like maybe with ice. So there's always some kind of
The one my wife
prank.
showed me the other day was when he staged a murder scene in his hotel room, and when Dwight walked in, he fell out of the closet like he had been killed. I don't know.
My goodness.
I'm just saying.
Oh man.
And that's her favorite. She loves it.
Some people love pranks.
Yeah.
I don't like pranks.
It's
Well,
really,
but here's-
it's really interesting too, because if you don't these are just kind of asides, but I've noticed when watching this show that like Dwight has a lot more power than I guess I initially realized. Like they even kind of make that mention that Dwight got that woman fired that Creed lied about.
Yeah. He's
so-
assistant to the regional manager.
Yeah, and I think he's actually better at his job than Jim is. Which is interesting.
Yep. It's true.
I don't know. It's
Yeah.
fascinating.
I'm not
You start
surprised by
really
that.
digging into.
Yeah, and those who watch The Office are like, oh yeah, but that also supported by this fact. I would love to go on long conversations with The Office because the people who like The Office, they get so passionate about it and they like explain these particular like storylines. And I feel like it's easier for me to follow because it's an office setting. But sinning this show sucks. I've only had to sin the Office episode once, and I don't ever want to have to do it again.
Well, you can only beg out of so many TV series,
Shush.
Danae.
Hey, listen.
Eventually, you're going to have to watch something you don't like.
Yeah, exactly.
As somebody who's new, I'm just finding my boundaries. One of my most favorite sins this episode was the zoom and enhance on the watch. That was so fun.
Yeah.
So who came up with that?
It's one of those things where I put it in the script and I was like, I don't know if you can do this, but can you do this? And they did it, and it's perfect.
So funny.
It's so great.
Yeah, it looked so good.
And I don't even know how they did it, but they did it.
Photoshop, man.
I guess.
They found somebody with a watch and they just Photoshopped that stuff. That was so
and
fun.
Once again, we proved that Jim is mean.
He had fuck you TV
He
sins on
doesn't
his
even
watch.
like us.
That's right.
Crazy.
Knew we'd be looking for that.
So weird.
The only other thing I had was the bad Australian accents.
Yes.
For some reason, that one just cracks me up
Yeah.
when they're doing all of that, and we made fun.
I particularly like the euphemism for sex burping the worm in the mole hole,
Yeah, what was that?
which I will talk about more in keeping tabs.
Okay.
But yeah.
Everyone's so shocked that Aaron's keeping tabs is sexually related.
Hey, it's been a while. All right, it's been a while. I got to keep my keep my image.
Oh yeah, that's
Keep
good
my
stuff.
image up. All right, let's move on to music video sins. Nirvana.
Here we are now.
I was going to give you as much time as you wanted to sing as much of the song as you.
I'll just interrupt you regularly.
Oh, what's new? Smells Like Teen Spirit. So yeah, I was surprised we hadn't done this one before, but we're kind of catching up on some of these classics that haven't been done. What did you guys think?
This song is not my favorite song, so.
Did you ever
I have a
like
weird
Nirvana?
experience with this song.
Oh, this
growing
specific
up.
song?
Yeah, so every time I hear it, I have a memory. And
I
it's
feel like
ugh.
we need to know.
Sure.
I mean, unless it's too private. It's
I had
almost
a crush on my neighbor.
Okay.
He loved Nirvana.
Okay.
He looked like he was in Nirvana. He
Okay.
had the long hair. He
Very
had
grunge.
the grunge. I was probably 9 and he was probably 14. So it was one of those like boy next door crush kind of
Right,
things.
like you don't even know what it means.
Don't even have
you
a
just,
clue.
You know, you're
He's
supposed to
just
crush
cute.
on cute
yeah,
boys.
Yeah,
and,
something like
yeah,
that.
Yeah, yeah.
So he listened to Nirvana and he had the whole thing going on. And so he always had this song playing. And for just a real short summer, I had this visitor come over. She was a friend of mine and she stayed over for like a week friend kind of exchange. Okay. And anyway, we were listening to Nirvana. We were laying down in his yard, looking up at the stars. I was on
in his yard?
And yeah, we had the adjacent yard, so we were just in his yard, like at night.
You just went over to his yard at night.
Yeah.
And looked up to the stars.
Yeah.
You just went to your neighbor's yard.
It gets weirder.
Okay.
So I'm laying on my back, and my friend, her head is on my stomach, and his head is also on my stomach.
Oh wait, he's there.
And then he was there. And so we're all looking up at the stars, and we're listening to Nirvana, and the next thing I know is they're kissing on top of me.
Is your friend also 9?
I don't remember how old we were. Like maybe we were 10 or 11. I don't. But we're like little. You know, we're just whatever. Anyways, I got real upset. I got up. I pushed them both off of me, and then went and jumped the fence and went home. I hate this song.
Wow.
Anyway, I have this weird emotions attached to this song.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Is it?
Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Yeah, I guess so.
I have a weird thing with this song too. You could argue that this song destroyed 80s hard rock
Because it became too popular?
Huh?
Because it became too popular or what?
No, I'm just saying this was like the start of, grunge had been around for a second, but I mean, this was like the big hit, right? This was the song that just kind of changed rock.
Yeah.
Rock went in a completely different direction after this song came out. And as someone who grew up on 80s hard rock and is still a huge fan of that type of music, I don't like that about it, but I still really like this movement in music. And this was 91, I think.
Yes,
so
it
we
was.
were like 15 when this came out.
Yeah,
Or
or
became a
16,
hit.
depending on if you're an old man. But yeah.
Yeah, well, me and you, I guess, specifically, because we were born close to each other.
Yeah.
So this was like I was the perfect age for this kind of like teen angst type of music to hit. And so I really did get into a lot. I don't know that I ever really got into Nirvana. I do. The album that came after this, In Utero, is actually one of my favorite albums of all time. So I guess I did kind of get into them. But there were other bands around this time that came to the forefront because of Nirvana that I became huge fans of.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of good and bad that hits me. And it's also one of those songs you've heard so many times that it just kind of becomes its own thing. Like it's hard to even discuss good or bad. It's just kind of a moment in time, I guess.
I have a weird experience with this song as well. Although I try to explain this, and it's hard for people to get. I lived such a sheltered childhood, and it wasn't one of those things. Most people's stories when they have a sheltered childhood is about sneaking the things that they're sheltered from. Mm-hmm. I was perfectly content in my sheltered child. Like I didn't and I say childhood, I mean high school years too. Like my first experience with Nirvana Smells Like Teen Spirit is Weird Al Smells Like Nirvana.
Mm-hmm.
That
Which
happens,
is excellent, by the way.
Which is the next year. He does Smells Like Nirvana. I knew Nirvana existed. I'm not so oblivious that I hadn't heard this song, or, I had never desired to listen to it. I had never, I was listening to Christian music, quote unquote, So it was kind of one of those weird things. Like I missed like these cultural touchstones that everybody else has. And I'm not necessarily even upset about that. It was just my life. That's how I grew up. So
it was just interesting as a fan of rock music, though. I can just still remember hearing those first few chords, and I can still remember that feeling. Like it's like it was yesterday, hearing those first few chords and just being like, this is different.
Yeah.
I don't know. it's just such a cultural milestone. It's kind of just become like it's just kind of become bigger than, I don't know, it's just kind of become its own thing, I guess.
Well, in a weird way, and this isn't a correct comparison, but it's kind of like Rapper's Delight, right? Where it's like, all of a sudden music has changed. There's something different
that's a good example.
Yeah, there's something different in the air.
Somebody broke the rules. Okay.
And change is okay. Like, I mean, like, we don't still need to hear 1985 rock music in 2019. I get that, but it has to happen. But, there's a little bit of sadness still.
Sure. Sure.
Barrett said Smells Like Teen Spirit was his entry into alternative grunge world, as it was for many people around his age. He's heard it so many times he forgot how much it fucking bangs.
It does bang.
It is a great song. It really is.
It's not their best song, but it does definitely bang.
That's the thing. And he said it was a welcome is it respite or respite?
Respite.
It was a welcome.
Or maybe respite. Maybe it's both.
It's RESPITE.
RESPITE.
Find out how to pronounce it with me. Okay. Is it respite? Respite?
I always say respite.
Respite?
Now the more we say it, the more I have no idea.
I don't know how to say this word, but
respite.
I don't know how to say it. It was a welcome respite for my ears and so much pop bullshit, which is always nice. It's just fun when something like jars your ears and makes you pay attention, when it can break through the noise. And this one definitely did. He didn't really talk about the singing process of the video. Did you guys have standout parts of the video that you wanted to touch on?
The suicide prevention part.
That's the only thing I wanted to talk about.
Is really appropriately mentioned several times. I love that we have a cause. I love that we take pause from doing our silliness and just be like, hey, this is real. So yeah, I think.
Yeah, but he spent a good amount of time. I mean, it was probably like a full minute of the video completely dedicated to not just doing like the normal, what I think, I guess, is probably more normal, which would be the, if you're having a hard time and you would like to have help, here's the phone number, and then moving on. It was like a really descriptive moment where he kind of went deep. And I think that is what the audience really hit with and really enjoyed, because the comments are just chock full. And when I tweeted about like thoughts, it was even brought up in the tweets from multiple people who messaged and said that was the standout part of that video.
And there's always...
I still remember when that happened, because Nirvana had not come to Nashville at that point, at least not... Well, I mean, they had an album before this, so I guess it's possible they had toured and been in Nashville before I knew who they were. But they had not come to Nashville since they had hit big. And they had just announced the Nashville date. And literally like the week or the week after, where we could have gotten tickets and me and my friends were really excited, that news broke. I was at work, and so I have an interesting connection to that too, because I will never forget hearing that and just not understanding what had happened. Because I mean, obviously I wasn't alive. Like, I mean, I wasn't like, I didn't, like stuff. I guess that was kind of like what Jim Morrison was to some people.
Sure.
The Doors fans when that news broke. But,
or I think of Heath Ledger in a different area.
Absolutely.
There are those.
You want to go later. Yeah.
Those people that. Although I should clarify, because I don't think the Heath Ledger thing has ever officially been called a suicide. I think it's more considered an overdose. I shouldn't say that. I mean somebody who is at the top of their game in their field, and we lose them. There's a really weird feeling about that. So
well, and they were. It's really interesting to think about. I'm just really curious I'm just really curious what kind of band they would have become, because there was such an evolving just from Nevermind to In Utero.
Yeah.
If you listen to Smells Like Teen Spirit and then listen to Heart Shaped Box, you can see there's such an evolution there in just their musical style, their lyrical style, just everything. And it's just, you had no idea where they were going from there. Or maybe they would have just died off quick. That's horrible. I didn't say it that way, but maybe they just would have not been as big later on, like a lot of these bands are.
Sure.
That could have happened as well. But I don't know. It just sucks that we never found out.
Yeah, I agree. I did like a lot of stuff in this video. I like the libido mosquito sin. It's always funny to me when you break down the words of this song. Like, this song has such weird lyrics.
It really does. It's the kind of lyrics where when you're listening to it for the first time, you're like, oh, did he just say mosquito?
My libido mosquito. Yeah.
But, because it's hard to tell.
I love the line, even anachronistic videos, anarchistic videos can have some obvious male gaze. I think being aware of the male gaze of the camera has been one of the most eye-opening things of kind of my modern life.
What are you talking about?
So when men direct women or shoot women, they look at women like men look at women. There's a male gaze to it, focus on certain parts of the body, the way they move.
Hips.
Yes, yeah, for sure. The biggest example I use is Wonder Woman. You can see the difference between the way she's shot by a male director versus when Patty Jenkins shoots her. Like there's a female gaze and a male gaze, and
yeah, there's like in Justice League, there's basically an upskirt shot.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So
or Harley Quinn in Suicide Squad is another good recent example of male gaze.
Right. Sure.
It'll be interesting to see because a female directed the Birds of Prey movie, so that will be interesting.
Well, and recently, I talked a lot about it with the movie Hustlers, because there is, even though J-Lo is so sexy in that movie, and she has this whole dance scene that's super sexy, but the way it's shot isn't male gazy. It's fascinating to me because
we talked about that in the mini pod.
Yeah, because it can be sexual and sensual and beautiful, and but shot from a woman's perspective of that scene. I don't know. It's been fascinating for me to see that kind of, and so I liked the pointing out of it in this video. And then the only other joke I mentioned was this woman looks like she's having an orgasm or a baby or maybe both.
I wondered who wrote that.
So because apparently that's a thing.
I like why is this janitor? I love us playing with that questioning type of sin.
Yeah.
Making fun of the Dallas Cowboys obviously never gets old for me.
No.
And we got a Game of Thrones dig somehow in a song from 1991.
Yeah. Yes, we did. All right, let's move on to movie video sins, or as we like to call it in the industry, CinemaSins. So we'll start off with The Grudge, which is the first of two videos that Danae wouldn't watch.
Boom. Hey.
This is Atkinson Watkins' script, so Chris and Jonathan wrote on this one. And I did watch the Sins video. I have not watched the movie, nor do I have any interest to. So, Jonathan, this one is all on you. Tell us about The
Take
Grudge.
it away.
This movie is... Okay, so for those of us that remember this, or there's probably people out there that don't remember this or just aren't old enough to remember this. In the aughts, it's hard to explain how huge the Asian horror boom was.
You're talking like with the Ring
2000s.
And The Grudge and that kind of stuff?
And The Ring, and it got so big that there became a ton of American remakes. There was like 10, 15, I don't know how many remakes they did in that time period of these Asian horror films. I mean, there were DVD companies that were specific to only releasing Asian horror film. Like that's how huge that trend became.
Right.
Around that time period. And The Grudge was, and after The Ring, after the American remake of Ringu, which they just titled The Ring, in 2002 became such a big hit, it was just off to the races. And I guess this was the next one, because this was a couple years later. And I saw this when it came out. This is a remake of a 2002 Japanese film called Ju-on the Grudge, which was and still is one of the scariest movies I've ever seen. But yeah, no, that movie just absolutely terrified me. And I watched this remake a couple years later, and it's like The Walking Dead in the comic. Like this follows the Japanese version like beat for beat. Even has the same director and sucks all the ass. This movie sucks so hard. I don't even know, and this movie has fans. Like I see, because I remember when, there's obviously the reason we did this was because there's a version of this out.
Another one.
Just this past week.
Is it they decided to do another one because this one was so bad? They're just going to keep trying until they get better?
Well, this was a hit.
Oh, this one was a hit, but you don't like it. Okay.
I just don't like it. Yeah. No, it was a hit. I mean, it was a box office hit. There's like 6 or 7, and they even made, there was a Japanese film that came out a couple years ago that was, it was Kyoko. It was Samara versus Kyoko, which Samara is the ghost in The Ring, and Kyoko is one of the ghosts in The Grudge. And they actually had a Jason versus Freddy, Ring versus Grudge movie, which is also terrible, by the way.
I did see on Twitter that at one point in a Japanese baseball game, the girl from The Ring threw the first pitch to the girl from The Grudge.
Yeah.
So
That was a promotion for that movie when it came out a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, but it's like I said, it's really weird. It follows a lot of the same beats and stuff as the original film. It's kind of like Gus Van Sant's Psycho, and in that way, but it just, I guess, maybe just feels like a copy, and it also just has, I guess, those American touches that are not as creepy as the Asian touches. I guess, I don't know, but it just doesn't work at all. And like we point this out in the video, where like it feels like half this movie is people riding transportation.
Yeah.
I mean, just nothing happens in this,
which is terrifying.
It's crazy.
Depending on the form of transportation, that can be terrifying.
That's a good point. That's a fair point.
That's true. That is very true.
What movie first did the hand coming out of the back of my head while I'm washing my hair scare? Because I
don't remember it before this.
So this movie, because that to me seems like a striking visual, something creepy and weird and gross that I had never seen before.
Yeah.
So anyways.
But that happened recently too. Like that was in I feel like that was in a movie from like past, like there was some version of that. I can't remember. It was like, maybe it was The Prodigy, or maybe it was like the Annabelle movie. I don't remember, but I feel like that happened recently.
Could be.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know what else to say other than this movie is just dull and just not interesting.
Well, then let's move into the sinning of it, which is not dull and uninteresting. I thought it was hilarious.
We had a lot of fun with this.
I love the line, "Thought you'd like to see me before I eat you." Because that is such a horror trope where it's like, boo, here I am, now I'm going to kill you. It's like, what motive does the creepy ghost have, to scare them, before they eat them?
Yeah.
So I thought that was really funny.
But what fun would it be to watch a movie where people just get eaten by ghosts?
What, you're saying the choices are for the audience, not the characters?
That's right.
That's
my theory. It's my theory.
It's my working theory of how movies work. Okay, tell me about the doorbell ringing in this movie. How do you mess up doorbell ringing? Like, these people go to the door, they ring the doorbell, and then, like, within a split second are ringing it again.
Yeah, and it happens a couple times.
Right.
Like, at the same house. Like, so that's why we pointed out, like, what is up with doorbell?
How do movies need, like, a doorbell expert, to help them understand how real people ring doorbells?
Yeah, no clue. Yeah, you wait at least a good, 30 seconds or so before you would ring it again.
The other thing I enjoyed was putting together the David S. Pumpkins outtake.
Oh, that was great.
Because, I mean, when else are you going to have an elevator scene that so perfectly works with it?
A weird naked kid.
Yeah. Like, I don't think
that was a fun conversation
I
too.
missed so much.
Is he naked? Do we need to?
Chris thinks he is, but I don't. I think he's got tidy whities on, but it's all blurry anyway, so it's not like you can see anything.
I don't know, but it's bizarre trying to figure that out. Like, what is my job? I also like the way Jeremy delivered the line. So please continue to ask me dumb questions, but don't expect a blowjob later. Okay?
Yeah.
Man,
because it's just one of those weird movie moments where the guy's like, "Are you okay?" Like, why would she be okay?
Are you all right?
What a dumb question.
Yeah, that was so.
It was. Danae,
I'm still not feeling bad about.
Okay, good. Fair enough. Let's move on to It Chapter 2. This was an Atkinson share joint. Chris and Barrett writing on this, and this is an awful movie. And the Sins video being 24 minutes long or whatever it is, plus a bonus video for our members, is probably indication that there's a lot to talk about as far as what's wrong.
I don't know that I'm on the awful train. I did not like it. I did not like it, but there are things about it I like.
It's hard to miss this much with that much energy and anticipation behind something. Like, you would think in this cast, like, you're probably right. In and of itself, it's probably not an awful movie, like, in the bottom 5-10% of all movies or whatever. But for what they should have been able to do with this, based on the response to the first one, based on the casting, like, there's such a disparity there as to what the final product.
The way the book is set up is you go back and
right.
I just feel like that's the only way to tell this story, because the adult part of this story is just not as interesting as the child part of the story.
Yeah.
So when you have a movie that is almost 100% focused on the adults, it's hard to make that work.
Right.
And they prove that.
Yeah. Well done. Well done.
There was a lot of this one had a lot of complaints in the comments, but I really feel like these were people that had read the book, because Chris and Barrett bring up a lot of things.
Right.
And there were people in the comments going, well, you just didn't pay attention. Like, no, that's not true.
Oh man, this movie confused me so much.
Yeah.
I didn't understand anything that was going on. I didn't understand the whole native ceremonies, those kind of things, whether those were actually important or not. What if the creature just used that is what it sounds like, but then I don't know why. And then apparently you can just make fun of this creature, and that's all you have to do to take it down.
Because it's an alien, right?
Yeah, sure,
maybe,
sure, whatever.
When did we talk about it previously? 'Cause I remember
we've
talking
done the
about
TV
it.
series. We did the miniseries on CinemaSins.
That's what it was. Yeah.
So yeah.
And CinemaSins. We did it on both.
Yeah, that's right. The crossover event.
That's right. I remember now.
Yeah.
I didn't watch it then either.
But yeah, it's and the book is better, but even in the book, I still never really get a grasp of what exactly Pennywise is capable of.
Yeah.
And even in this movie, Bill is it Skarsgård?
Yeah.
Yeah, he does a very good job. But in this movie, at least, I don't know that it works because you just don't know enough about like what he's capable of doing. Like I don't know why I'm supposed to be scared of him.
And also, you don't even know in this movie what's real and what's not. And
exactly.
I'm glad that the Sins video talked about that, because that was my main thing. I'm just like, is this an act? Is Pennywise actually here right now, or is Pennywise making them think this thing right now? Because that matters. That matters to the danger of the situation. It matters to the tenseness I'm supposed to be feeling. It matters to the characters and how they're figuring this out. Like it's just such crucial information that the movie has no interest in conveying.
Yeah, and as someone who really enjoyed Chapter 1, I think they do a much better job in that one of getting that across.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then in this one, it's like they forgot everything they did, and it's very confusing. Like if you haven't read the book, I would imagine I'd be like you.
Yeah. And I haven't read the book, and I am like me.
Yeah. And you shouldn't have to.
That's true.
I mean, that's one thing I don't think. I wonder if movie filmmakers understand sometimes. Like, I shouldn't have to have read the book to enjoy this.
Yeah.
That should just be a bonus.
Yeah, exactly. Danae, what were you going to say?
I'm just reading up on Pennywise. I'm very curious about him.
Oh, don't. Don't even try.
His origins are nebulous.
Uh-huh.
He took the form of a clown from another universe who landed in the town that would become Derry by way of an asteroid. That sounds like a really cool Dungeons and Dragons intro.
He's
Eldridge Blast.
He would
Come
be
on,
a great Dungeons and Dragons character.
Right?
No, he's just a monster.
So he's a shapeshifter.
Yes.
Okay.
But when is he shapeshifting, and when is he telepathically creating delusions? Like both those things are in his bag of tricks. So, and when he shapeshifts, I don't understand. Like the physical interactions of his shapeshifting don't make sense. Nothing about.
Like he kind of becomes Mysterio.
Yeah. There's a lot of similarity in the stupidness and confusion of the drones in Pennywise. Like that's a very great comparison, because they both don't really make any sense, and they're both used just as a get out of jail, get out of plot free card. So yeah.
But I think that's what I like most about the video is like you were talking about. I love how they just really dig into how it doesn't make sense, like how the character of Pennywise is able to, do all these things, how they're actually being affected by what he's doing.
Right.
I mean, it was a monster of it. I mean, I think Endgame was bigger than this, but I mean, it was still kind of like in that they had to take on like all this mythology and stuff, and, morph it into this video, and they did an excellent job with it.
Right. Yep, I agree.
He has two weaknesses, and those who can see him need to know what it is to overcome this terrifying. But they don't tell me what those two weaknesses are, so that's very frustrating. Do you know what the two weaknesses are?
That doesn't sound like anything.
No.
I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of, it's one of those things that a lot of writers did this trick before, where with a lot of nightmare stuff, like they did this with Freddy Krueger and a lot of the Nightmare on Elm Street sequels, where you just have to like not be scared, not believe. That's why a lot of these creatures, mythologies are able to attack children and not adults, because adults can't see him.
Right, because they don't believe he's there.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's so creepy.
That's the only thing I can think of. That is so. That is not presented well. And
I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I will tell you that according to this, Pennywise
Well,
in
he might not
1980,
like you at all.
well, I'll just perform the ritual of Chud.
Chud?
Chud, yeah.
Yeah, and then it'll kill him.
Yeah, for reasons, whatever.
Let's talk about sending the video. What did you guys think? Because I wrote the whole script, and I'm really excited to hear what you thought about what
I've said my piece.
I feel like it's we've worked on so many of these and we're so involved in these. It's hard to sometimes say, but I mean, as someone that didn't work on this one, I mean, this is probably one of my favorites that I've watched because I really felt like this was one that caught all the irritations and questions I had when I was watching them.
Yeah.
And this video was trending, so that was cool.
Yeah.
That was kind of fun to see.
People like it, man. This is. I mean, it's interesting because we don't have a lot of these more. It felt like in the 80s, every couple years we'd get a new movie monster that would, hit the mainstream, but you don't get that much anymore. And Pennywise has definitely become like a phenomenon.
I don't want to steal one of your guys' comments. Do either of you have a comment from Emma Musgrave?
No.
It's the top comment on. I've got it sorted by like most commented or whatever. It has it's a 3,600 likes. She said they killed Pennywise by roasting him and lowering his self-esteem. Imagine him in a public school.
Yeah, that was really funny.
That's hilarious.
I agree with you. This I really enjoyed the video because it spoke all the things that I had experienced. It was good. Well done.
Well done. Maybe we're done with it forever now.
It Chapter 3.
I'm really curious about that because obviously there's no sequel to the book. But this still did really well, and you could see how they could make another movie. So I'm really curious to see what's going to happen. I wouldn't be surprised if they made another one.
Well, if there's dollars to be made, Hollywood will find a way.
I mean, it didn't do as well as the first one, but it still made an insane amount of money. So
well, that'll do it. That'll do it. Money
makes the world go round.
Big factor. So let's move on to keeping tabs, shall we?
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies and share pornography with one another.
Oh, jeez.
This is the most public yet of my many humiliations.
We're going to take a look at some stories from putting the week's content together. It could be a Google search, some strange research, deleted sin. I've already hinted that I'm going to go back to my ways of talking about sexual euphemisms. Yes. So if anybody has missed that part of me, welcome back to Pervy Aaron.
Is this more about how you're all about the tongue? No one will understand that.
No, that's nowhere in the episode. But thank you, Jonathan. Thank you for throwing that in there. Danae, why don't you go first, or do you want Pervy Aaron just to come out right away and we'll just start there? What do you think? Jonathan doesn't have anything this week.
Yeah,
so.
I'm sorry, guys.
No worries.
I messed up this week.
Well, I didn't write this week, but while you guys have been talking, I've been researching. I researched about Pennywise,
right?
Which we
talked
just talked
about. Yeah.
And he also went on this really sad little dive about Kurt Cobain and theories about his death and everything. So I've just been over here in true crime realm.
Well, that's the thing about anytime a celebrity dies, especially young, it doesn't matter who it is. The conspiracy theories will start.
Yeah.
Always. Elvis is still alive. Marilyn's still alive. Amelia Earhart, by the way, also still alive on an island somewhere.
And thank God, I really am excited to meet her someday.
I mean, if you watch Star Trek Voyager, you know that Amelia Earhart is on another planet.
That's right. I'd forgotten about that.
She is one of the 33. So
it's good to know. Good to know.
Thank you, Star Trek.
But the one that I was most excited about is while you guys were talking about zombies, and I was thinking about the prosthetics. And I like even though I don't like scary stuff, I like watching Face Off on the Sci-Fi Channel.
Yeah, that's a fun show. I watch it every now and then.
Yeah, I kind of like, even though you're seeing like scary makeups, sometimes you're actually like kind of watching them make them. I do get to a point where even though I watched it happen, I just have to kind of like turn my eyes and be like, okay, I just don't want to. I don't want to carry that one in my mental brain for too long.
Yeah.
But I was curious because of that whole world, and I learned a little bit about just like the process behind that show, and that one of the big draws to it is how realistic a lot of the gory kind of stuff is, and the anatomy specifically, and that there's people behind it who like went to like medical school, and if you were to go up to any of like the zombie creatures and like peel back some skin, you would actually see layers and stuff because they build it to be as real as possible. And so there's some cool articles if you're like into that type of thing where you want to know the behind the scenes of making The Walking Dead. I discovered like 3 or 4 articles that were really interesting, like about particular scenes that sort of stand out and how they made them. This one is from really early on in the series, so it's definitely not accurate now, but I was really trying to figure out how many prosthetics they use. I didn't find that. But they did say that I'm going to mispronounce his name, Nicotero.
Yeah, Greg Nicotero, who I've actually met and is a very nice guy. Go ahead.
Oh, that's cool. He estimated they did at least 6,000 makeups during C3. So that was obviously old because that's from season 3.
Lots of zombie makeup.
But then if you think about like how many seasons there are, that's just a lot of prosthetics, a lot of makeup, and that kind of stuff I do get really impressed by. So that was my keeping tabs this week.
Nice.
No, yeah, I mean, and like I said, we were talking about that, how they go into detail about the decaying skin and stuff. I mean, the look of that show is amazing.
Yeah, and
from a technical standpoint, that show is great.
Yeah, and you were talking about how the rotted stuff continues, and so they do a lot of sculpting and just all that, which because I watch Face Off, I find really fascinating.
I could never do that just because that's just not where my artistic brain goes. But God, that's so impressive. People that can
really is. But
it's amazing.
I think we all really just want to know what sexy things you looked up, Aaron. So.
They're not all that sexy. They're just about sex. Michael Scott has a line in The Office where he says, "unspeakable act." And it just triggered something in me of like, of course it's speakable. You can say what the duck and the mouse are doing. And there's probably many, many ways to say it, in fact, as we know. So I looked up euphemisms for sexual intercourse.
Great.
And boy, was I not disappointed. I found an article called 400 Euphemisms for Sexual Intercourse.
400!
And it is a list of 400
all right, everybody.
different things, different ways to say having sex.
What I'd like to think about,
like,
what I'd like to think about right now is that the audience just check their phone to see how long this podcast is.
Well, here's what I want to do. I want you to pick a number between 1 and 400.
Oh, good.
And we will randomize this a couple times. And
372.
We'll do it as long as it's entertaining. 372 is, I got to go all the way down here. Thrumming is 372.
Well, I picked a lame one to start off with.
Let's do 41, your favorite number.
Oh, my favorite number 41 is bringing an al dente noodle to the spaghetti house.
These are all for sexual intercourse, right? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. No, I didn't know if they were for cinnamon.
I just want to say, if my husband ever used that line,
"Hey, baby, how about I bring my al dente noodle to the spaghetti house tonight?"
I'd slap him. I wouldn't.
All right, pick another one, Jonathan.
Oh, God.
13.
13. These are in alphabetical order, by the way, so you kind of know. Baking the potato. Hey, honey, want to bake the potato tonight?
Sexy.
I'd be like, yeah, I love potatoes.
Sure.
Let's go.
What happened to just say you want to fool around?
400, because I want to see the Z.
The last.
I want to know the Z.
The Z. All right. 400.
Zooming in the zoo. Or
Zigzagging.
Yeah. That's not
Let's do some
exciting at all.
Tonight. You want to pick more numbers, or you want me to just throw some more at you?
What are some of your faves?
Yeah.
Well,
it's
such a long list, but
like you didn't.
What's the link? 400
just search for 400 euphemisms for sexual intercourse.
Oh, euphemism.
You have a top 10 lightsaber battles.
Yeah, this should be your list.
I'm gonna guess
things like Bam Bam and the Ham Ham.
That's better.
That sounds like a band.
things like I'm sorry. Some of them are a little more explicit than others.
Like cattle prodding the oyster ditch with the lap rocket.
Oh, are you reading these now too?
Cattle prodding the oyster ditch with the lap rocket.
Mm-hmm.
Is there like just normal ones in there too? Like
yeah. Being
getting it on.
Number 25 is being intimate. So yeah, there's normal ones.
But number 61 is.
Would you like to be intimate? That'd be creepy.
Cleaning the cobwebs with the womb broom.
Yeah, we've all been there.
Like, hey, honey,
it's been a long time since we've had sex. You mind if I clean the cobwebs with my womb broom?
I mean, I think you would be appreciative. Your husband's taking initiative.
That's clever.
Cleaning up some stuff.
Yeah. Anyhow. So if you want a good time, I'm sure you'll.
I'm always scared to Google stuff like that because I just. Oh my God. Speaking of which, this might work in this scenario. On New Year's Eve, I was involved in, what is that? I was Cards Against Humanity. Have you guys played that?
Yeah.
Yeah. There was actually cloaca was on a card.
Oh, yeah.
And my wife had it, and she's like, I don't even know what the word is. And then I immediately was like, oh, that's cloaca. That's like male frog parts. And then, of course, like 10 people just look at me like, how do you know that? And then I had to explain.
We have a wonderful weird
job.
I
didn't even think about the consequences. I was like, oh yeah, that's, male frog parts,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Who doesn't know that?
Yeah. It's just common knowledge.
Right. It's common knowledge that instead of saying
Sincast lists that listen to us, they will probably know all about that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's common knowledge that instead of saying have sex, you say fidgeting the midget in Bridget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or this parking the beef bus in Tuna Town.
Tuna Town?
These are awful.
Is that what you said?
Yes.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I am never going to forget Tuna Town in my life.
You're welcome.
I'm going crab fishing in the Dead Sea.
I see some of these sound like insults.
I think they are. I think some are disgusting, some are,
Yeah, they're not all great.
Like,
oh no!
I think about my favorite.
I don't know.
No.
Dead Sea.
This one's showing up in a Sins video at some point.
Okay.
I'm working this in. This is my favorite. Instead of saying have sex, gland to gland combat.
Ooh.
That's it.
That is amazing.
And we're done. Thanks for listening to the show.
I could read this all day.
Don't do it. Let's move on.
Moistening the Pope.
Stop it.
Ooh, that's fitting for isn't there a new Pope show on HBO?
Yeah, of course. All right. I'll stop reading them. Anyhow, be aware you will be seeing some of these pop up in future scripts for sure.
Yeah, if there's one that has pool, you can say 2-ball in the middle pocket.
That's right.
See, there's some good ones on here, but mostly not.
Let's move on to the comment section.
I want to know what you're thinking.
I appreciate your honesty. You're a real straight shooter.
You are the ones who are the ball lickers.
We're each going to pick a comment or two to respond from the week's videos. We'll also do some general feedback in here as well. Jonathan, since you didn't have keeping tabs, why don't you kick us off for the comment section? What'd you find?
This was the Grudge. I just thought this was kind of cool. Somebody just decided to tell us a story, and I thought this was interesting. It was 610 Hobbies. Said, okay, so kind of funny story. I went to watch this when it came out. This is about the Grudge. Mm-hmm. My girlfriend back then couldn't go with me, and neither could any of my friends, so I said, screw it, and I went by myself, which I highly recommend going to see movies by yourself. It's fun. I got into the theater and sat. Trailers started showing up, and I noticed no one else in the theater, just me. The movie started, still no one. I decided to switch seats all the way to the back, but it didn't help. I was scared shitless. And the scariest thing was in the scene just before the bed part that the girls get a call from her fake brother. My phone rang just at that same moment, and I yelled so bad. Also, it was an unknown number, laugh out loud, but it turned out to be a friend who saw me earlier walking to the theater. Anyway, thanks for reading this. Hope it was a bit funny. I had a similar story where I went and saw in the mid 90s. I think it was 94. It's called Brain Scan. It was horror. It was like Edward Furlong's follow up to Terminator 2. And this guy, I was in the theater by myself, and it was like this old, like kind of older, dirty theater in Nashville that doesn't exist anymore. So it wasn't a great place initially, but this is just where the movie was showing. And I'm in there by myself, and like halfway through, this guy just walks in with a dog.
Oh.
And which, thinking back, he was probably blind. But who knows? But walked up to my row, stared at me for about, 10 seconds, and then just turned around and left.
Wow. That's fun to see when you're alone in a scary movie.
Yeah, I still can't figure out why I did it after that, but I did not.
It's not as good as Aaron walking into a full theater.
What?
And everybody turning and looking at him being creepy, only male. What movie was that for again?
Well, there's been a couple experiences as a movie critic that feel that way. I have watched horror movies alone, which is fine with me. And they don't. I don't know. I don't find that stuff necessarily scary. But yeah, walking into Magic Mike.
That's the one.
With a theater full of
But there was
rowdy.
a kid one. There was a kid one too.
Yeah, that was the Bieber movie.
Yeah, that was
so I walk in, middle-aged man, to the Justin Bieber movie alone, and to a theater full of teenage girls, and moms who are giving me the stink eye the entire movie.
Like, what?
Like I'm
are
there
you
to prowl
doing
on
here?
their daughters,
Mm-hmm.
and
and you came in late because you don't watch the previews,
right?
So you kind of linger in the hallway like a creepo.
Yeah. I used to think that with animated films. I don't think that's as big of a deal anymore, though, because so many adults like animated films now. I think that's kind of become more accepted.
Yeah, but a Justin Bieber documentary is...
that would still be, I think...
It is a little... I've never more so wanted a badge. that says movie critic on it.
Right,
You know,
right.
like
Official, like bouncer or like
because,
something.
by the way,
for movies.
I kind of look creepy too. Like and
that's where, or you need like a niece or something.
Yeah.
That you could have taken with you, or I don't know how old your sons were at the time, but
in hindsight, the trench coat was a bad idea. I know that now.
Also,
but,
not wearing any clothes underneath it.
That was a little weird.
I thought Danae said at first the time Aaron walked into a porn theater.
I don't know that story, Aaron.
No, I thought that's what you said initially. That's why I was confused, and then I realized you were talking about I've heard the Justin Bieber story. I think on Sif Pop.
Yeah, that was an experience. I'll go next. I mentioned I wanted to talk a little bit about the bat puns in the Walking Dead video because the way that our comments play along with that stuff is so fun to me. The Flock said, I feel like you're trying to reference something with Glenn, but I can't quite figure it out. Anyone else want to take a swing at it? Something like that. And then the comments to that comment, the replies to that comment, let's see, I'm not going to read the names. I'm just going to give you the comments that followed it. These jokes should be hidden in a dumpster, which is another reference. Then someone else said, I'm stumped as to what it could be. Next batter up. And then somebody said, definite home run for me. And then someone said, you are striking out with all of these jokes. And then the final person said, beats me. So the way our fans play with the puns is one of my favorite things.
Because I didn't watch it, I thought all the comments about bats were about the creature.
Oh, interesting.
And I was like, man, they must have a lot of bats in The Walking Dead.
No,
that's one of the real common zombie trope is bats.
Yeah, one of the beloved characters gets beat to death with a bat later on in the series. So, yeah.
God, I forgot about that dumpster scene. I don't know why I kept watching the show after that happened.
Yeah,
that was
exactly.
That was that's another thing this show does is it's really bad about giving you the cliffhanger and then in the next episode retconning it.
Oh yeah,
which
that's
is
annoying.
Really irritating.
Yeah, that's kind of frustrating. Yeah, in my bad trash TV that I watch, they just kill people off. So they don't really retcon. They don't come back to life. It's just like, you wanted your contract? We'll kill your character.
Exactly.
So
what's your comment, Danae?
I picked a couple. This one was from also The Walking Dead from Charles Bronson, who said the other various sins are cars having good gas in them and batteries after so long. No one sets up zombie distractions. I was so excited to hear you say that, Aaron, because I was like, look, it's just commonly thought stuff.
Well, it's true.
No one sets up zombie distractions to lead them away or uses long pikes first to end them at a long distance and saving ammo until they really need it.
Yeah.
So I like that.
But I seriously, Aaron, I never thought about the government, ending it like in a week.
Yeah.
Until you actually made that comment. I'm like, yeah, that's true.
This would not be hard to figure out how to take care of these creatures. And then once we know we all turn into them, we have different things in place for, when we die. So let's move on to the question for the week.
Wait, you said if you have some comments.
Oh, fine.
And that was plural.
Sure.
I just wanted to go to Twitter first.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
Because we got some feedback after last week's episode where you were explaining Doctor Who to me.
People love the explaining of Doctor Who.
So that was really fun. So J-Dub on Twitter explained the stretched out skin thing. Said her life was extended through. Okay, just listen to this. Listen to this tweet. This is so weird.
I've watched the show.
Her life was extended through a series of 708 plastic surgery operations until she was nothing but a piece of skin stretched onto a frame with eyes and a mouth connected to a brain in a jar below. The skin had to be constantly moisturized to keep it from drying out.
Yep.
That is so messed up.
It is a commentary, right, on plastic surgery and the idea of beauty and the lengths we go to look what we think is culturally beautiful. True. And yeah.
Okay.
Moisturize me.
Oh, is that
on your list?
My list?
Moisturize me.
Euphemism.
Is that a euphemism for moisturize me?
No. Oh my God. Anyway, thank you for all the love on Twitter.
That was, we had some fun on Twitter last night, by the way. That was fun.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Old J-Dub getting in there. And is it Austin?
Love you guys.
That's fun stuff.
Glad you enjoyed it.
That was kind of my reaction today when I watched.
Yeah. I mean, of all things, why not like one of those multi-tools?
It is a multi-tool.
But it says screwdriver.
Yeah.
So I just envisioned that it was one piece.
You'd rather it be called like a Swiss Army, a Sonic Swiss Army knife,
or something clever that I don't have time to think of in this moment.
See.
But yeah, I mean, Sonic screwdriver is fine. It's what it is. It was shocking. I didn't expect it. That's all.
There you go. This question comes to us from Toby, who says, "Hi, Danae and others. Only joking."
Hi, Toby. Thanks for not joking.
Is this Toby from This Is Us?
Yes, yeah. So the podcast only works because of all your personalities bouncing off of each other. You can't have all Danae. I'm
going to eat a tot right now.
That would be a scary podcast. All three Danaes. Says, I have so many questions I would love to ask, but the one I'm currently thinking of is how much work went into the creation of BTS Podcast? Was it a suck it and see if it works? Never heard that phrase before. How did you come up with the sections? Were you confident with the length of pod? Was there discussions over each person's roles on the pod? This is a lot of questions, but I'm really interested in the background of the podcasting, and I wanted to do my own, so why not learn from the best? Thanks again to you all, Toby. Well, thank you, Toby. We appreciate that.
I don't know what we can teach you.
Right?
I do. I love helping people launch podcasts. It's one of the things I do on the side.
So talk to Danae. Okay, moving on.
Yep.
No, I'm just kidding.
That whole question is all about me.
I don't. The BTS thing was I think something I pitched to the guys just as a way to kind of have a secondary podcast where the other CinemaSins employee, the B team, as we come to known,
as we belovedly coined, we call ourselves the B team.
And the pun worked really well in my brain, the idea of behind the scenes, behind the sins. And I just thought it would be a fun way. People want to talk about the videos. Obviously, when people make comments, whether they're good or bad or whatever, it's because they desire that interaction, right? Like they want to know what's behind it. Why this one? Why not this one? Why did this one work? Why didn't this one work? How's the process look like? I know with the things I love that I love knowing behind the scenes. I was a huge, back in the day, extras guy that would listen to all the commentaries on DVDs and just kind of dig into the worlds that I enjoyed. So I thought maybe we could do that with the Sins universe, and so pitched it as a podcast for us, and they were like, hey, yeah, give it a shot, and people seemed to enjoy it, and it really was kind of that simple for this one. It was just kind of a pitch and go.
It was. I remember when you were talking to me about it, we didn't even advertise really. It was just sort of like okay, we're going to start this thing off. And then I don't know if you mentioned it obviously on Patreon. So, and then we're because we've got quite a nice little following now, and we just started to advertise on the main channel. So I think it's been tweeted about, and
yeah, sure,
but not we didn't do a big push or anything.
Yeah, someone recently created this awesome promo. I don't know.
Yes, they did.
Some amazing guy.
Yeah.
On the B team who is not in this room with Aaron and I. But yeah, I remember when you were talking to me about it, I was super new to the team. In fact, I hadn't even I was working casual part-time.
Right.
And you're like, hey, we're going to try this podcast out. And you guys already know Aaron and I have done radio together and podcasting together, and we have a studio. And so we kind of know how to play off of each other pretty well. And but I was concerned because I was like, dude, why would you want to put me on the show if I don't even know if I work with CinemaSins for very long? I don't even know how long they're going to keep me around, if this is going to work out. So that was kind of the hardest part for me, was jumping in and having fun and talking about it. But then through that process, that's how I've really had a lot more confidence to do this job, because I've had such positive conversations. Talking about the behind the scenes stuff has given me a better understanding of what's going on. And I think, Aaron, that was one of the other reasons we really wanted to do this at this time with coming on the team. It was just a good timing kind of a thing, where it's you knew that there was a audience question and curiosity. And then there's me, the new person, who can kind of play around in this new world. And so it's just been really fun to sort of launch with. The segments, Aaron's brain is built for this stuff. I always bring projects to him and I'm like, hey, I'll come up with a fun segment or a word play or something, because his brain just does that. And so, but I would like to hear the keeping tabs we knew we were going to do, although I don't know that we knew what we were going to call it. Maybe you did instantly. But we knew we wanted to do something with what we have to research.
Right. Because that always seemed like a fun idea.
Yeah, because as I was learning this job and doing scripts, I would come to Aaron and be like, oh my gosh, I had to look up this really horrible thing. And he's like, how funny would it be if we... So we knew we wanted to do that.
Yeah. Feedback's always a good thing. I just kind of thought of the things that as a fan I would want to, participate in, and that's kind of where I start. And then I try to give them names that,
sound clever.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and you guys had already come up with a lot of this because I didn't know anything about it. I got an email from Aaron, and I think Danae was on the email, Danae, who I'd never met really or talked to at that point. I mean, I think you were randomly in the studio one day when we had a call, and we got introduced to you. But this was well before you were even doing anything with us. I think you guys were wrapping up something else. So we had not gotten to know each other yet. And I got an email from Aaron just saying, "Hey, we're going to be doing this behind the scenes thing. Do you want to be a part of it?" And I was like, "Hell yeah!" And I think the only thing I suggested was the Beyond the. I don't think I even came up with the title, but I think the Beyond the Sin. I just said, "Hey, I really like that hidden treasure, the buried treasure thing on Sif Pop. We should do something like that."
Yeah. It's fun. It adds it allows us to add a little bit of our own personality to the end of the podcast and be like, "Hey, here's something I enjoy." So yeah, no, it all seemed to make sense and it seemed to play together, and yeah.
So that's how this one was started. I guess just to super quickly and hopefully succinctly encourage you or anyone else who's thinking podcasting, there are so many free resources online. There's PDFs you can download that give you like a suggested, inexpensive way to get started on podcasting. You really don't need to have a lot of expensive equipment. Aaron and I have a professional studio because we were in radio for many years, and we really have to have really high quality stuff to sort of like compete with the big dogs in radio. So we sort of had this at our house, but like I just am starting to put my own personal studio at my house, and I went to Best Buy and got a Yeti mic with like an arm, and it was just about $200 for that little setup, which is still kind of expensive if you're not sure you're going to podcast. So what I would recommend doing is to go through the process of challenging yourself to do audio just for you and see if you can consistently record for maybe a month or two, and then experience what it's like to edit, experience what it's like to share that audio with some friends and get feedback before you actually launch your podcast. Because once you start, the most important thing is consistency. And
for sure,
you can play around with the format. If your audience is there for you, they're going to stick around. But you can do a season and do something different, after a few months, but you have to be ready to consistently release. And so what you really are doing as you're podcasting is called project managing. And it is a lot, especially for a creative with a lot of ideas. So I'm actually getting ready to launch my own podcast. I've been podcasting for years. I've been doing this kind of stuff for years. And I'm only going to be releasing really short episodes because it's literally all I can manage on my own. But I know once I get started, I've got to have maybe some episodes banked. So if I get sick or have to leave town, I'm still able to release. And also, I would recommend just doing a little bit at a time. Don't launch a Patreon and have to have, a newsletter and a Twitter and your own website and blogging. You don't have to do all those things. The most important thing is to release something every single week or twice a month, whatever your plan is. And that can be really hard to do unless you experience it. So that's why I always recommend just do it for you at first and don't even necessarily tell anyone what you're doing. Listen back and hear it and edit it, figure out how to add the music, and then you'll have a better idea of what it's going to take to do your podcast.
Here's what I would say. Don't do a podcast if you're doing it because you want a big audience.
Nope.
Do a podcast because you've got something inside you that you have to get out, because that's the only way you're going to be committed to it. The only way you're going to be interested in doing it is if you've got something inside of you that you're like, I want to talk about this. I want, because that passion is what is attractive to people to listen to. Plus it means when nobody's listening to your podcast, because that is 99% of the podcasts that are out there are very small audiences. You still want to do it because you're doing it for you. When I started to become a movie critic and write movie reviews, that it was because I had to, because I wanted to. Nobody was really reading them except my friends and family, but it was just part of me that I wanted to get out. So, that's
a really good thing. The average download for podcasts all across the board is less than 150 per episode. And so people who have like 20 people, they think that's like super small, but actually that's a really good start.
It's pretty normal.
It's really, really normal. So yeah, the numbers are really hard. Like you're going to look at those downloads and be like, so I'm doing something wrong.
Well, and those 20 people will tell 20 other people or could.
Yeah, they can, especially
that's how you would, you got to have somebody there to grow from.
Mm-hmm.
And we should also use this to mention, see, Danae's creating her own podcast. She's leaving us. This is her last episode.
Bye,
so,
everybody.
Sorry.
It's been super fun.
I know people are going to freak out after I said that. I'm kidding. I hope
they're
I'm
not
kidding.
going to freak out.
And as for, was there discussion over each person's roles on the podcast other than me hosting? Not really, other than the fact that, I'm kind of driving the ship, because that's another thing. You really do need, if you're doing a multi-person podcast, one person kind of does have to kind of corral the order of things. But yeah, other than that, no, we just kind of came as we are. This is who we are.
That is something else super fast to mention. If you are going to do a podcast where you're the host and you have a co-host, have that conversation at the very beginning that it's your show and that they're co-hosting and that you own the show. If they want to co-own the show, you need to have a contract. I know it sounds really weird.
And it's obviously very different than what we're doing, where it's as a company.
This is a company podcast. Right, yeah. But if you're doing an individual show, like I did one with my really best friend, and I had that super awkward moment where I was like, okay, so if you stop and I want to keep going, I'm going to keep going without you. And she let me know that was uncomfortable for her. So we had to have that conversation. So it's just important to know who owns the content and who's in charge. That way you don't get like blocked out later on. So anyway,
yeah, we can talk about this forever.
I'm really passionate about podcasting and shows, and so is Aaron. So thanks for the question. That was a really fun question.
Advice.
All right, let's move on to Beyond the Sins.
To infinity and beyond.
Somewhere beyond my wild history.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
We're going to chat about something else from the world of pop culture that we've seen recently.
I can start.
Yeah, Danae, kick us off.
Okay, so I'm going to do a YouTube channel. My daughter is really into drawing, and I like to draw and doodle as well. And so if she asks me to draw like a house or a tree, that's really pretty easy. Or a flower. Like, I can just pretty much do that. Recently, she asked me to start drawing monster faces because I think she saw Monsters University. And so she's kind of got or Monsters Inc. or something. And so she's got the monster. And then she's also seen Frozen, and there's like the ice monster. And so she's been kind of drawing those things. I'm drawing silly monster faces. And then she'll say, like, put them in the bathtub. And so then I'll draw a bathtub. And they're just real simple stick figures. But there's this YouTube.
Put them in the bathtub.
Yeah, it's
That's
cute.
Great.
Yeah.
Is that on the euphemism list?
Oh God. Oh no.
Draw a silly monster in my bathtub.
This is this channel has 2.3 million subscribers. It's called Art for Kids Hub. Art for Kids Hub, and it is a guy, and I think his family, and over the years, and he draws on like the right or left side, and then his guest, no matter the age, draws on the other side of the screen, and he just guides you through drawing all kinds of things and breaks it down into, it's like smaller parts where you learn how to actually like kind of draw something. So like, for example, the one that Iris and I looked at is how to draw Littlest Pet Shop Golden Retriever. So that's a dog, there's dragons and like super complicated ones. There's pizza and Goombas. There's tons of content there. But what I love about it is I can just pull up this channel, and then Iris and I are sitting side by side and we're drawing. She's only 2.5, so I try to find super simple stuff, but it's fun for me to learn as well, especially since she's so interested in art. So like this year we got her easel for Christmas, and she's all over that thing. She's drawing on the chalkboard, she's drawing on the whiteboard, she's painting, and then we draw together all the time. So I thought if you enjoy art, you want to draw, and you want to start simple, it's a really great channel. It's really easy to follow. Again, Art for Kids Hub.
Art for Kids Hub on YouTube.
Even if you don't have kids, it's a fun one. I like.
What about you, Jonathan?
So I started watching I think this dropped on January 1st, actually, on Netflix, a show called Messiah.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about this. I've been curious.
I'm really curious about what the two of you will think of this, since it's, I guess it's somewhat, it's very much religious based, but anyway, so the central conceit of it is that a man shows up in the Middle East, seemingly out of just nowhere, and kind of develops a following from he gives like a, I'm trying to think of how to describe this. He gives like a speech in a troubled area during.
Does he give like a sermon on like a mount?
Yeah, like in it, like this sandstorm comes in, and after all of this, he's got these followers, and they start traveling, and then eventually like he ends up performing a couple of miracles. And of course, in modern day, that gets like on YouTube or whatever, and it becomes pretty widespread. So this catches the CIA's because they think this might be a potential a terrorist threat. So Michelle Monaghan comes into the story playing a CIA agent, and she's investigating potential here. And then he eventually ends up, after the first couple episodes, he ends up in the States. And I guess I'll stop talking about it there because there is a lot of twists and turns. I've only seen the first 5 episodes, so I unfortunately don't know where this is going. So this could end up being something not that interesting, but I'm really liking it so far.
Interesting.
It's very much like, it feels almost kind of, maybe just because the CIA is involved in stuff, but it kind of almost has like a 24 feel to it, where like pretty much every episode ends like on a cliffhanger, and then which immediately goes into the next episode, and you're just basically learning about trying to figure out what, is this guy for real, or is this all some sort of con, or is it a potential terrorist threat? You don't really know. So that's kind of the setup of the show. This show is, I guess, developed a bit of controversy. I've read where amongst Muslims there was some issues. I don't know enough about the practices and beliefs there to comment on that, but just know that going in, if that is something you're sensitive to. And then critically, it's not getting very good reviews, but I don't know. It's been extremely entertaining so far, and it's such a, I don't know, it's just such an interesting idea of that. If I guess the idea of like a modern day Jesus, I guess, is kind of what they're presenting it as. Like I said, I don't know what it's going to end up being.
Right, but it's kind of like if the biblical Jesus had taken place in 2019.
Yes.
Instead of, whatever, 50
couple days ago
BC or whatever.
Yeah, and it's so far like it's
super long.
It's mostly been focused so far on the Michelle Monaghan character and this guy, and then there's been a few other characters that have been introduced that kind of play into it. I feel like it's kind of getting buried because it wasn't getting good reviews, and yeah, I don't know why. I'm just really curious, so I hope you give it a watch.
Well, probably because I talk about Jesus and stuff. Yeah, I actually do. I have taken a little bit of a reputation for amongst my friends and audience or whatever as the one they're like, what do you think about this religiously themed thing?
Yeah.
So no, I get it, and I probably should watch it. My mom was just asking me about some religiously themed movie that I haven't seen, and I have abandoned my my post, I guess, not watching all this stuff all the time.
Like, I come at this from a perspective where I'm curious, not that I want anyone to be offended or anything, but like just because there is some stuff around it that seems like it is, some people are a little apprehensive about it. And it could just be because of, real life too, things that are going on currently and whatnot. But I don't know. It's interesting.
Cool. I'm going to talk about Little Women.
Yay!
The Greta Gerwig Little Women that is just out recently.
Little Women.
And vying for awards. Obviously, this movie has been made many times before, or the story has been told many times before, I should say. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that it's public domain, so nobody has to pay for the rights.
Yeah.
But most recently, the one I remember is was it 94, where it was like Christian Bale and Winona Ryder?
Yeah, Susan Sarandon.
Yeah, that crew. But this one is a little bit different in the way that Greta Gerwig chooses to tell the story is, I think, really smart, and does some things with hopping around in time that if you are not alert to will be confusing to you. If you are not willing to give yourself to this movie in a way that pays attention enough to know, oh, we're moving around in the story. I feel like if you're trying to watch this, at home with a device in your hand or with laptop on or whatever, you may miss out on some really cool things because the way she plays with the story and the echoes of the story within itself are really interesting and I think really valuable. She also does some really cool things with a meta narrative to this story where she takes the life of Louisa May Alcott, who is the author of Little Women, and kind of works her into the story itself as one of the March Girls. And so the way this kind of plays with that meta-narrative, I think is really smart, and allows you to see the story in kind of a deeper, more meaningful way. I don't want to give anything away, but one of the choices she makes at the end and how this character is both telling the story and experiencing the story.
Is that when she gets the dog?
No.
Oh.
But nice try. By the way, getting the dog is another
euphemism.
No. Number 34.
Number 34. No, so I really like this movie. Add to that the fact that we already know she's a great director. She knows how to direct a movie, and
excellent cast.
Performances from this cast. Saoirse Ronan is amazing. Right down the line. I'm trying to think.
Florence Pugh is having a hell of a year.
Yes, thank you. What a year for Florence Pugh. With Midsummer and this and Fighting with My Family. Man, I'm really impressed with her this year. So yeah, right down the line, the cast is amazing. Timothée Chalamet is great. Lori. So yeah, I really liked this, and I wasn't necessarily expecting to like it this much, but huge recommend.
I'm really curious to check it out, and I will eventually. I had every intention of taking my daughter to see it here recently, but life happened, just hasn't been able to happen. But hopefully we'll get to it before it leaves, and it's doing really well. So I think it's going to be around for a minute.
And Hermione Granger doing great work here too. Watson, So yeah, good stuff all around. So yeah, I would highly recommend Little Women, the movie, not just Little Women in general. Although there are many amazing Little Women in our world.
Right, let me take the shovel. Let me take the shovel.
I do remember quite liking the '94 version. I have not seen it in many years, but I remember that being something that I was like not expecting joy and really did. When it came out.
Yeah,
it's a good story.
Yeah. Yes, indeed it is, and it's told well here. Well, everybody get everything from out behind the curtain that they wanted to this week?
Well, I just wanted to let you know there was a little clan drama, and I wanted to talk about it.
Behind the clans now? Is it clan-to-clan combat?
On my podcast, we're going to talk about games all the time.
That's going to wrap it up for Behind the Sins this week. Don't forget to make sure you're subscribed, and go ahead and leave a comment or rating as well. You can hang out with us on Twitter. I'm at Aaron Dicer. She is at Danae Says.
DeneeSays.
He is at Sam Loomis 13. So for Jonathan Watkins, Danae Hughes, and myself, we'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening. Send any feedback to behindthesinspod@gmail.com, and be sure to subscribe or message us at Twitter, and be sure to visit cinemasins.com.
You touch this freaking microphone, I'll kill you. From some of the most popular teams to top players, how much do you know about Premier League soccer?
I don't know a lot about Premier League soccer. Is that a football thing?
Bing has all your Premier League needs covered. Check out all the latest matches, standings, and more. If you've got a hankering for moody, dramatic, rocky shorelines, you've come to the right place. Oh, man.
Oh, man.
Oh, buddy. You shut up! I've not been given passwords. I'm not that level yet, I haven't been given the snack key,
What's making noise? Your phone or your machine?
My butt.
Well, shut your butt down.
I can't. I had ham and beans. Gates of hell are open. When you left to go upstairs to get water, I ran into the laundry room and tried to poop. Toot.
I wonder what that gift in our washer was.
I just hide my poos.
You're like a dog.
Yeah. I'm very uncomfortable going in toilets. Bonus thoughts for next week. My Hero Academia was written by a girl.
How are you, man?
I'm okay.
Yeah.
Am I supposed to hear today?
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Yes.
Uh-oh. 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 Push all the buttons. That's what I would do. I panic and then press every button.
That is a really bad idea.
Do you remember the first time that they left me alone to run the board while you guys went on vacation at the radio station, and I'd only been there for like a couple of months, and everyone acted like it was a super no big deal? Do you remember that? And I was panicking do you remember that? And then our boss, I was like, dude, you don't understand. Like, I panic and just start pushing buttons and I don't know how to stop myself. But do you remember what happened? He looked at me. He was like, unless it's on fire, everything is fine. And I said, that's a terrible standard. And then you guys left anyway.
At that point, I think we all thought you were kidding. Like, I think, like...
Why do people not take me at face value?
No, because we didn't realize you actually would just push buttons.
And I did.
But Mandalorian is being a butt.
The Mandalorian butt.
Which is weird because it's Disney.
The Mandalorian rear end.
To the best of my knowledge, we've never had an issue with Disney before.
It's under a cape.
But
we can still see it. I talked to my brother for 45 minutes this weekend. Oh my gosh.
I thought you and your brother didn't like each other.
No, we like each other. We just don't talk. There's a difference. We love each other very much. We just don't speak. And he said, yeah, I could probably figure out somebody that you could talk to. And I said, yeah, they might want to listen to the content before they decide to like go all in, you know? And then he goes, oh, you guys could come up with a really clever thing. Like people who cuss need kitchenware too. I was like, that's it.
Sometimes even more so.
Do you want really expensive kitchen gear? Do you cuss? Well, do we have the right people for you?
We sell a specialized meat mallet, and when you hit your thumb, you can say all the words.
You can say, ouch, and ooh, and gosh darn it.
Is anybody else in the post-holidays like doldrums a little bit? Just kind of like the sugar high is wearing down, all the gifts have been opened, the new year is here already, blah, blah, 2020, whatever, we've talked about it. Like anybody else? Or is everybody else still excited?
I wasn't excited before it started. But we've established that. But did you guys see that there are several people that have said they don't want to be on social media right now, but then they would leave us and they want to stay on Twitter?
Yeah, of course.
So we can just, we can try to be the happiness.
And I kept all those, but I have blocked and muted so many people over the last like 2 days. It's not even funny.
I thought you were going to say you blocked and muted those people. They were too positive for you.
I'm just saying those people are safe.
I got this new lip balm called Cinnamon.
Ooh.
And it is a lip freak.
Can I try it?
I don't know if you want this. It will freak your lips out.
Is this reverse psychology?
It's the strongest buzzing lip balm in the whole world.
Ooh.
Okay, here you go.
Is it like is it like drugs? Am I gonna be on drugs now?
This will be exciting because we have to start the show, so you're gonna have to do this while we're recording the start of the show.
It smells minty.
It
doesn't smell strong.
It's cinnamon.
Yeah.
So it tingles your lips.
It's got a mustache on it. So this is for dudes.
Go for it, man.
All right. You freak your lips out.
I already read that part.
Hey, if women want to have mustaches, all power to you.
Yeah. I have one. It's just a little peach fuzzy.
So, okay, here we go.
On your lips. No. On your lips.
Is that not my lip?
It looks like you're putting it on your
Oh my God, what are you guys doing?
It has a mustache on it.
No, it's not. Yeah, down lower on your lip. Keep it on your lip, man.
Like there?
Yeah. Really get a lot on there. Really smear it so that you get the whole experience.
This doesn't seem like a very hard concept.
He's doing much better now. He had to his lips don't exist apparently. He was trying to figure out where it belonged. All right.
It's fine.
Yeah.
What is it supposed to do?
I don't
Oh, that's what it's supposed to do. Oh. All right. Okay.
So it's kind of like eating a ghost pepper.
Yeah.
You don't. You're like, this is nothing, and then you're like, oh, son of a.
Yeah. Wait till it gets to the part where it feels like you're going through space-time continuum.
Yes. Yeah. No, it is definitely increasing. It is.
Yeah, we're supposed to do a show now.
The fire is spreading.
Remember how I told you had to start the show? It's time.
Wow.
You should definitely go get that checked out if the fire is spreading.
Yeah. Yeah, it burns.
It's literally crazy amounts of cinnamon. It's called Lip Freak for a reason.
Wow. Mm-hmm. You know that guy in the My Hero Academia in the crowd?
Yes.
It has just like the 3-inch circle of red around his lips. I feel like him right now. I feel like I need to be watching a very boring talk fight. I'm afraid I'm going to get it on the microphone because I'm so close to the microphone. What did I have a dream about a microphone?
Has this lip balm freaked your brain out?
Yeah, maybe. Oh, I wanted to do a parody song. Can I just tell you this real quick? I wanted to do a parody song of, is it Beck that does Where It's At, 2 turntables and a microphone? I wanted to do a parody song about podcasting called 2 White Guys and a Microphone. And it's like, because every podcast is just a couple white guys talking. I don't know. It just popped into my brain.
That was a dream you had?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I dreamed that I punched my husband in the face over and over again.
2 Caucasians on a microphone. Where it's at. 2 Caucasians on a microphone. Hey guys, I'm pretty sure my lips are plasma right now. I think they've melted. I think they're dripping. My top lip is dripping onto my bottom lip at this point. So maybe we should start.
I told you. Isn't it crazy?
That's intense.
I told you.